My name is Alara, and his name is Liam. We were the inevitable, the pair everyone whispered about but no one dared to bet on. Our history wasn't a sudden spark. It was slow-burn chemistry, built on 10 years of shared secrets, inside jokes, and emergency late-night pizza runs. He was my anchor, the one person who saw the mess beneath my perfectly curated life. And I was his sounding board, the one who could tell when his "I'm fine" was a code for "I'm falling apart." For years, that boundary, the sanctity of our friendship, was our highest wall, protecting us from the messy, volatile truth. We were falling in love. The challenge wasn't admitting the connection. The challenge was admitting the risk. What if we tried, failed, and lost the only constant we had? The setting for this pivotal, frustrating night was fittingly dramatic. It was a Saturday in late October, the air crisp and smelling faintly of wood smoke and rain. We were supposed to be studying for a history final, huddled in his tiny apartment, but the conversation had drifted, as it always did, to the future. Liam had just received an acceptance letter to a university 3 states away, his dream school. A detail he'd kept quiet until now. The news hit me with the force of a physical blow. Not jealousy, but pure panic. He was leaving and the comfortable, safe bubble we'd built was about to burst. We climbed the rickety fire escape to the roof, a place we frequented to talk through life's biggest anxieties. But tonight, the anxiety was us. Up there, the city lights blurred into 1,000 shimmering promises and possibilities, reflecting in his eyes as he spoke about his plans. The vulnerability was thick. He wasn't just talking about courses and dorms. He was quietly asking me to acknowledge the distance, the change, the end of an era. The moonlight softened the sharp angles of his face, and I saw a different Liam, less the goofy, reliable friend, more the beautiful, complicated man I was hopelessly in love with. The air between us became electrified, heavy with unspoken words. We stopped talking about the future that was separating us, and started talking about the present that was pulling us together. He moved closer, his hand reaching out to brush a stray piece of hair from my face. I could feel the heat radiating off him, the tremor in his fingers. Every fiber of my being screamed yes. That was the peak. He didn't rush it. He just held my gaze, asking the question without saying a single syllable. I leaned in, too, my breath catching in my throat. I smelled the familiar scent of his worn sweater, and a faint whiff of the coffee we'd shared hours earlier. The distance was inches, then centimeters, until our lips were barely skimming. And then I froze. My mind conjured a terrifying montage. The awkward breakup fight, the silent hallways, the years of history turning into bitter ashes. I couldn't breathe. With a small, desperate sound that was more whimper than whisper, I pulled back, turning my head quickly to look over the dazzling, indifferent city. The silence that followed wasn't heavy, it was absolute. It felt like the entire universe had paused, waiting to see which way I'd jump. Liam retracted his hand immediately, not with anger, but with a profound, aching understanding that made the moment even more painful. I scrambled to explain, my voice trembling. I can't, Liam. Not like this. Not now. We have to be us next year. If we try this and it breaks, I don't know who I am without your friendship. I can't risk losing you completely, especially when you're leaving. He didn't argue or try to convince me. He simply nodded, his eyes sad but steady. He wrapped his arm around my shoulder, pulling me into a platonic, solid embrace, the kind that reminded me exactly why I had been so terrified to risk it all. The immediate challenge was resolved. The friendship was safe, but the challenge of my own courage remained. We didn't speak of that moment again for months. Liam went to his dream school, and I stayed home. We settled into a rhythm of long-distance calls and sporadic visits. But the weird thing? The space, the distance, and the decision to protect the friendship actually allowed us both to grow. I learned to stand on my own 2 feet without him as my constant emotional safety net. Liam flourished in his new environment. When he came home that following summer, we finally talked about that night. He confessed he felt the same paralyzing fear, and he understood why I'd pulled away. We realized that if we had kissed, if we had started something just days before 1,000 miles separated us, it likely would have imploded under the pressure and regret. Our love was real, but the timing was fatally wrong. Our strength wasn't in the almost kiss. It was in the courage to value the connection over the fleeting romantic moment, giving us both the space to become the people who one day might be ready for that kind of risk. The inspiring message I learned? Sometimes the biggest act of love is the willingness to wait. And that brings us back to that frantic drumbeat in my chest. I still feel it sometimes, but now it's not from fear. It's from excitement for the future, whatever it holds. Because Liam and I? We're still the inevitable. But we're stronger now, and we're building a foundation that no distance or fear can break. Now that you've heard our story, I'm curious. Have you ever had an almost moment that taught you more than a happily ever after could? Let me know in the comments. And if this story resonated with your own messy, beautiful life, please hit that like button to help us share this message of courage and timing. And don't forget to subscribe and join our community. We've got plenty more stories about those tiny, life-changing moments coming soon.